As a child, we all long for a hero. As a society as a whole, we search for that leader that can be our hero. But as we mature and as we grow, it dawned on us that the hero is inside every one of us. And in the world's social media, we all start at zero. And slowly we search deep within ourselves to find who we are. And we have that moment of truth where we embrace that the hero that we've been searching for has been there all along. It is living deep inside of every one of us. And we start embracing that journey and we become that hero that we search for.
Hey everybody, good morning and welcome to episode 67 of Zero to Hero. We've got another great guest coming at you today. Like you saw in the description, we had a little snafu last week, something out of our control, but she is here today. We are ready to talk. Her name is Karen Crnkovich. She is the owner and chief handshaker of DMC Servicing. So let's go ahead and bring her in. Karen, how are you today?
I am great. Thank you so much for inviting me first time and inviting me back when got caught up last week.
No, my pleasure. And thank you for making the time to come on the show. I'm glad that we can make it happen. So before we get into this whole thing, tell us a little bit about DMC Service and what you guys do over there.
Sure. We are a commercial heating, cooling, and plumbing service contractor. So I always tell people who think of the trades, we are not builders, we're fixers. DMC has been in business for 19 years. I've been the primary owner for 11 years and the sole owner for 8 years. And we fix things that get broken. On the heating cooling side, that could be anything from, fixing a rooftop unit or a split system, adjusting ductwork, makeup air units, kind of all the things you think of that cool or heat, boilers. And on the plumbing side, it's everything from fixing toilets and urinals, leaky sinks, to water main breaks and bigger problems. So we fix the things in buildings that you want to work. We're really proud of the fact that we've been recognized as a high growth business by both Ingram's Magazine and Inc. 5000 last year. And hot off the press, we are a Kansas City Chamber Top 10 Small Business this year, which has been really, really super fun. We're a first-time honoree or in the top 10, so it's been a learning experience. But I've just been really excited to be and humbled to be around, included in the group of entrepreneurs that are just, I think, so highly admire and are extraordinary.
Yeah, absolutely. You are in great company there on the Chamber Top 10 list. I know Jay Rieger is on there. Mm-hmm. Resolve is one of those companies. Of course, DMC is on there as well. So you guys have been in business for a while. This is the first top 10 that you're getting here. Tell us a little bit about what that process was like, what requirements you maybe had to meet, and what it takes to be a top 10 small business in Kansas City.
Yeah, well, I don't really know what the judging requirements are, but I can't tell you we have applied in the past. In fact, last year was our maybe second or third time trying. It kind of ebbs and flows, right? Like you have time over the course of 19 years, and I'll say over the course of 8 years of being the sole owner. There are times that you're really high, there are times that you're really low, and the low times you're not really bringing a lot of attention to yourself. Let's just say we're trying to put our head down and get through the next day. So when you hit that high times, you want to celebrate those. So last year, we applied, and you do an application, and then you have this showcase, which is awesome. It's been held at Union Station, and you're being judged, which at the time I kind of knew, but I didn't really know until I got in there and was looking at it from the lens of our booth and what we were doing versus what some of the people who ended up being recognized and in the top 10 were doing. So last year was I count as our learning year. And so this year, leading up to the top 10 show or the showcase, small business showcase, I told my team, I was like, okay, we are bringing it. Let's brainstorm. Let's really like knock this out of the park. And I felt really good about our booth. It was really interactive. I feel like it was interesting. I mean, let's face it, heating and cooling and plumbing are not the sexiest topics. You know, I mean, we're not handing out cocktails, which God love Rieger for doing that. It's so, you know, I mean, it's kind of, some people would say boring. Some people would say a lot of things, but you have to work a little bit harder when you're in the trades to make a really interesting interactive booth, which I think we did this year. And then, much surprise to myself when we got announced, which I was over the moon, there's all these other things that they have you do. So the judges come and they show up at your business and you have this presentation that, you know, I thought that I was going to be interviewed. So I was like, okay, well, what questions do you have? And they're like, well, tell us. And I was like, okay, I have the assignment now and I will deliver. So we had some of our customers Zoom in and give testimonials, and we did a little show and tell, and I had employees give testimonials. So that was really fun and interesting. And then last Thursday night, they had a top 10 reception where all of the CEOs from the top 10 businesses kind of were in the hot seat and had interview questions that we answered. And that was really fun. But as far as what the criteria is, I mean, I guess you'd have to ask the judges
Sure.
what their metrics are. You know, for DMC, like I said, I'm just extraordinarily proud that we're even included in this very, small percentage of businesses that have been recognized. But, I'm sure it has to do with, financial success, employee growth, how have we rose above and grit through challenges. I'm sure it's things like that. And then, how are we showing up for the small business showcase and, the interviews and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I think that's great information for other entrepreneurs that are out there that are trying to hit those same benchmarks, right? And get to those things. And obviously the judges are going to judge how they're going to judge, but it really is kind of that holistic approach when it comes to being recognized for these kind of things. It's not just providing superior service. It's what's your culture like? What are your finances like? What's your projection like in the future? So great answer. I love that information out there for them. Now, I want to get into a little bit of the meat of the show here with you, Karen. So not DMC service, okay, but who is Karen Crnkovich? Give us your elevator pitch.
Oh my gosh. Well, I am I try to be really authentic, and I try to be real and kind and positive. But all with that, I am super resilient and gritty, and I'm a problem solver. So throughout my life, one of the things that gives me a lot of joy is serving others, both in my business, growing and building a company that people want to work for and that has a really positive, supportive culture. And in my nonprofit experience, both leading Junior League of Kansas City, Missouri, and co-founding a nonprofit, having the ability to serve others and help them just really fills me with so much joy. So I'm a proven leader. Even when I wasn't running DMC service early on in my career, I was recognized as a solid leader, and that gave me a lot of satisfaction. I love leading with a servant's heart and helping other people grow and become better. Just is so much fun.
Yeah, that is awesome. And it really does take a lot of grit, right, and resilience to lead in the trades at all for anybody, right? But especially as a female, right? I mean, it's something that's kind of changing over time, and I'm loving the amount. We just had Jennifer Hart from Heartline Construction on a couple of weeks ago. She is awesome, right? So these things are changing, but talk a little bit about what some of the struggles have been and what some of your proud times are as far as leading a predominantly male industry.
Well, I do think you're right. It is changing a lot. And shout out to Jennifer. She is an amazing human.
That's awesome.
It's one of those things that when I started, getting involved with DMC service. This was really very kind of new to me. I was learning a lot. I took classes so that I could become licensed. And, those first few years, even now, when I go to contractor licensing, shout out to Johnson County for doing a really great job on their continuing education program. I was literally the only woman there. I mean, I would go in, you kind of get a lot of side eye from people who are like, wait, she must be in the wrong place. But, I kind of tend in those situations, just kind of put my head down. I know I'm here. I belong. I don't need you to tell me that I belong, because I know I'm supposed to be here and do what I need to do to be successful. When I decided to buy the founder out of the rest of the shares of the company and run it, as 100% woman-owned business, one of the questions that I really had to come back to during that time was, why am I doing this? Like, why? There were a lot of reasons to do it. There were just as many reasons not to do it.
Sure.
But what I saw was an opportunity to change the narrative in the trades. When I first got involved in the trades, I was told, plumbers and HVAC technicians don't care about culture. All they care about is punching a paycheck. All they want is hours. And, mission and vision, no one cares about that. And I heard what they were saying, but I didn't listen because I didn't believe that was true. I believe that as humans, we want to be inspired. We want to have a sense of pride and ownership for what we do, no matter who we are. If you are, fixing a toilet or, a heart surgeon, like, you want to have a sense of helping others, and you want to be in a, positive environment. And I'm really proud of the fact that over 8 years, I have changed the narrative with my company. In fact, one of our employees, so I've just hired 2 new employees, a summertime helper and a new plumber, and he starts next week. And when I asked him, like, how did you hear about us? Because he called our company directly. We didn't, like, these days, I'm sure I'm speaking to everyone out there who is a business owner or in recruiting. We know it's hard, right? We know it is really hard to find employees. So the fact that somebody came to us and sought us out, I was really curious. Like, hey, we're not yet a household name, especially because we do primarily focus on commercial. And he told me that one of my employees had told a family member of theirs who works in the union that he liked my company so much he wouldn't go work for the union. And the union guy told this guy, hey, I heard DMC is a really great shop. I mean, I feel like I should drop the mic and walk off stage at this point.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We've got people who aren't even, in our culture telling others, like, this is a great company to go work for. And so that gives me a lot of pride, because now I'm proving what I was told wasn't true, is that you can build a company in the trades. You can build any company, not just in the trades, but especially in the trades, that has positive work environment, that's supportive. One of my biggest mantras is we make first-time mistakes in DMC. Like, we're all human. Let's face it. Mistakes are going to happen, but let's not make second-time mistakes. Let's not make this same mistake over and over. Let's make it once, let's learn from it, and then move on and, make another mistake that's new. So it feels really great. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something I'm working with my kids on constantly. Let's make the mistake one time and learn from it and move on, right? But no, I love that.
Yeah.
And you're so right. I mean, it is an industry that's kind of always been looked at as this kind of grumpy, right? They just want to get there, do their job, and then leave. And you're proof in the pudding, right? That's just because that's how it's kind of always been done doesn't mean that that's how it's got to be done going forward, right? And people do care more about culture, and your employees are your best resource when it comes to recruiting, right? And then outside of that, maybe social media, right, which kind of gets in and it kind of displays that culture. So my next question for you is to tell us a little bit about your social media journey, kind of what it was like before you came in, what it's been like since then, and where you guys are at now.
Yeah, so we shout out to my extraordinary, I hope it's okay to do this, marketing company, Limelight Marketing. Yeah. They're a local company. I engaged with them. So when I bought the company, very early, soon after, maybe a year after, we made some really not great choices that were very detrimental to our profits. Like the revenue looked great, but the profits, like look behind the curtain. And I mean, it was the kind of thing where like you walk in the room when the baby's crying, you're like, I'm out. Like you handle the baby because I'm not dealing with that situation. And I tell people, because I want to be real, I love being an entrepreneur. It is one of the most challenging, fun, exciting things I've ever done. It is also the scariest, hardest, most difficult thing I've ever done. And it's equal. And the hardest thing we ever did was, basically walk up to the edge of bankruptcy and not go over and claw it back. And that was, 2017, 2018 were
Wow.
two of the undoubtedly most difficult times in my life and in the life cycle of our company. So back then, I was doing social media myself. I had a gal who was doing it kind of for me. And then we pulled that back because we decided after those two, and it was basically surrounding, and someday, another time I could tell more details, but we had two very large jobs that we took on that we really probably had no business doing. And we lost our shorts. We broke even on one, and I lost $100,000 on a $300,000 job, the second one. And that kind of back to back just really made it very difficult. So
Sure.
I didn't have a lot of extra money for social. And when you're running a business, like you have to prioritize like the customers who are calling, your employees, like vendors, all these things, making time for social media, it is like way over here at the bottom of the pile. Yeah, it's important, but it's not urgent. We'll get there. We came out of that in 2019. We actually grew profit over 200% in 1 year, which
That's awesome.
was awesome.
Yeah.
It was hard. It was really hard, but we did it. And I'm really proud of that. Like not one of my vendors, even though some of them I was calling weekly saying, please don't shut us down. I will write you a check for $300. Like just keep us open. We'll make you whole. Like no, everyone that we had got paid. And I'm really proud of that, even though we,
you should be. You should be.
So to follow up with that, in early 2020, I started looking at, before the pandemic, I started looking at, okay, we want to get serious now about our marketing efforts. And I got a couple different proposals, and Limelight just really impressed me with how detail oriented, how thorough they were. They did research on us and were like, here are all the areas you can improve. It wasn't, there were great pitches to me, but this one was very personalized and felt like they'd really been very spot on with where I needed to grow. So then the pandemic hit, and I sat there, and as anyone who was a business owner at that time, we had like 30,000 Zooms in one day telling us what was happening and how it was happening. And it felt like we were drinking water from like the fire hydrant, not just the hose. I mean, it was like an onslaught of information. And I will always remember, and I can't give credit to who it was, but I was on one of the 30,000 Zooms, and this guy said, when things get tough, run to the roar. And I sat there and I like was starting to process it. I'm like, run to the roar. He's like, whatever your initiatives are, put the foot on your gas and go for it. Do not pull back, especially on marketing. And I thought, this is my sign to engage with Limelight, close my eyes and hope for the best. And it's literally one of the best decisions that we did, because there was a lot of work that needed to be done on our website in terms of things that I have no understanding of. I can say the words, but like meta tags and descriptions and all of those things, I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about, but you do. So please go forth. And I mean, they've just been great to work with. And I'm so glad that one statement, run to the roar, stuck with me at the perfect time when I was like, God, should I pull the trigger and do this, what felt like a lot of money every month. I mean, I think we were talking $3,500 a month. I mean, that to me, I'd spent zero marketing dollars. So that kind of retainer felt very scary, but I did it anyway. And I mean, the proof is in our results. I mean, we have grown. I mean, the pandemic, obviously, it kind of, everybody took a ding, but 21, 22, even 23, like we have grown very steadily through hard work, one job at a time, not, organic growth, because of that marketing partnership that we have. And they just do such a great job.
That is fantastic. I couldn't have asked you for a better answer than that. And I love so many of the things that you said there. One of them being, the run to the roar, right? As a marketing company, we're always telling people, when recessions come and these different things come, hey, this is the time to lean in, right? It's not time to pull the cards and stop letting people know that you're out there. When times are tough, that's when you need to really almost double down on the message that's going out, because other people are reclusing, and it's a great opportunity to really grab the market, right, and get a good share of the market and keep that momentum going forward. So that is such a great point that you brought up. I love that. And the second one is, the company does matter, right? I mean, there's a million and a half marketing agencies that are out there. And I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. I'm not going to name any names specifically, but a good portion of those don't care, right? They care about making their money, right? Putting out a mediocre templated project. It's not custom, right? There's so many different things that go into good marketing, that a lot of companies, I feel like, just miss the mark. So I feel fortunate for you that you found a good one, right? That you can tell genuinely cares about DMC. And I think that's, above all, what matters most when it comes to partnering with a marketing company. Do they genuinely care about your mission and pushing your needle forward, right? So I
Yeah.
love that. Thank you for sharing that. That is awesome.
And just on the very off chance that the people who I also interviewed are on this call, I'm not going to call them out. I'm going to say I knew they were very smart. Like, they did a good job. But for me, that tipping point, as I said, was somebody like Limelight really looked very in depth about what we were currently doing and came with a very personalized and tailored proposal that just knocked me off my socks. And they were willing, they asked for, a little bit more in retainer. And I was like, listen, I'm going from 0 to this, this feels really scary. I'm willing to do it, but can you work with me a little on that upfront retainer, just until we get going and I have a bigger comfort level? And they were super great to work with on that front as well. Because, it is, I think as an entrepreneur, you're always a little bit at least I am always questioning myself, is it worth it to spend this money? Do I need to spend this money? And I learned that lesson through our crash crunch when we almost went bankrupt. I had to get really, really nitpicky on how we were spending money because we didn't have the cash flow to do all the things we wanted to do. And at that point, it becomes very clear, is this a need or is this a want? Is this urgent and important, or is it just important? And trying to really discern that. One, I don't regret any of that time, for the record. It made me so much smarter, so much stronger as a company. When we came out of that, really tough time, we hit the ground running. We got very clear on who we were marketing to. The other thing is we will do residential. For anyone who's listening, we do residential, but we are very intentional about only focusing our marketing efforts on commercial, because I'm not going to beat the big residential companies in town. They're spending gazillions of dollars on their marketing. And, I spend money, but I'm not going to spend $100,000 a month in marketing. That's not that's not the space I want to play in. But if you need residential, we will always take care of you. We have lots of residential customers who are really happy. But it's an intentionality that we have towards our marketing that has also helped us grow in the area that we really wanted to grow.
Absolutely. Yeah. And identifying who your ideal client is a big part of marketing, right? Is who do I need to come through my door to make my business successful, and who can I help, right? So that is a great question to answer right out of the gate. And I love what you said about the other companies as well. Hey, look, nobody's perfect, right? You're going to find a company that's a match for you. Somebody's, one approach isn't going to work for you and vice versa, but it is good for any entrepreneur, really, any business out there, to hear maybe where we didn't quite, where we missed the mark, right? Where we lost that one, and we can improve on that next time. So appreciate you sharing that as well. Now, Karen, every superhero has a defining moment. What do you think yours is when it comes to your life and career?
It was without question making it through that year, 2017 to 2018, where we had just an incredible crash crunch. I mean, when I say I was joking with my director of finance, who I just adore this woman. And I would say for any entrepreneur, find the yin to your yang. Like, I'm a big picture thinker. I make fast decisions, sometimes to my detriment. Like, I have forced myself to learn to lean into the details. It's not my spiritual gift. So the people I try to surround myself with are the opposite. They're highly detail oriented. They're really methodical in their process. And I know I drive them crazy and they never drive me crazy because I know they're in my life for a reason. So apologies to everyone in my life who is that detail oriented person who I drive a little crazy because of my, hey, let's go in this direction. Let's go in that direction. Big picture. But Maria and I were kind of reflecting because she just had her 5-year anniversary back in February. And I was like, Maria, you started with our company in the literal worst time we had ever had. And look how far we've come. I mean, it would be every week when I would go to pay bills, we'd literally have like $2,500 to spend and I'd have $90,000 in bills. And I'd be like, okay, who's the lucky person who gets a tiny piece of the pie today? And I mean, it was a lot of begging, and asking for forgiveness and kindness of the vendors that we were working with to assure them that we weren't like the other companies that had gone bankrupt, that one way or another they would get made whole. My banking relationships at that time, at the top 10 reception last week, they said, okay, what's your one advice? And I was like, be humble, ask for help and have a rock solid banking relationship with your bankers. And, because they could have called in we had a working line of credit. They could have trimmed it out. They could have demanded payment right away. And so I started emailing them every month saying, hey, I know it looks bad. It is bad, but here are the things that are going good and we're going to turn the ship. And so really, I have most been defined. I've done a lot of hard things in my life. But the hardest thing was that, like, right-siding the ship and not going bankrupt. And that has very much defined who I am and, in the future where I'm going, because being able to identify issues and do hard things is kind of what I'm wired to do.
Yeah, no, I love that story too, because you're headed towards the brink of disaster. I mean, literally, tens of thousands of dollars, right? Where it's like, where is this going to come from? And now we're here, right? I mean, 6 years later, right? I'm sure it's felt like a lifetime to you since 2017 when all that was going on, right? But it hasn't been that long, right? And it's been a pretty quick turnaround from the sounds of it. So congratulations to you on that. It's absolutely, I love that story. And I think it really just goes to show, other people out there that may be listening that may be struggling with their business, keep going, right? Figure it out, and really lean on those relationships. Those all great points. I love it. Yeah. Now, every hero has attributes that kind of define them, right? What do you feel are the attributes that define a hero?
Oh my gosh, there's an infinite number of attributes that define heroes, because when you think about who a hero is, there's so many different versions of that. It's not one size fits all, and you see that. I am not, please, Marvel Universe people, don't, come at me. I am not, I don't know all the superheroes. Like, I know, the ones, right? But it's a place that I like to go and enjoy, but I don't dig deep and am not I'm a fan, but not a super fan. And if you know, right? The super fans out there are like, oh yeah, I know them all. But each one is very different. Each one is very different and unique. I mean, I truly believe that every human has the capacity to be a hero in their own special way. And understanding, I like to say what your spiritual gift is or gifts are, really understanding that and acknowledging that and understanding that there's no one person that has all the spiritual gifts, right? So, so recognizing and appreciating others for what their true gifts are, I think is really important. But for me, my spiritual gifts are, I am relentlessly positive, no matter what. Even in those really hard days, I stayed as positive as I could be during that time. I am infinitely grateful and thankful. Every morning, especially during that really hard time, my feet hit the ground and I just thank God. I try to always thank people and make them understand that it comes from a place of absolute, genuine authenticity when I thank people, because we all deserve that, right? People are always like, look at you. You're doing this really cool podcast, which is super fun and it's touching people. So Gino, thank you for sharing your gifts of being a great interviewer. And then I'm extraordinarily resilient. There are very few things that I haven't gotten through. And I believe that I've gotten through because of my positivity and my thankfulness.
I love that. And you're humble too. It's one that you're going to leave off because you are humble, but I could tell just in our short time talking that you are humble. And I love that. I mean, the thankfulness thing is so true, right? I mean, it's almost like an afterthought now when people say thank you. And it's something that I try to do in my own life as well, is really, let you know through how I'm saying it that I am thankful for you being here, right? Or whatever the case may be, because it goes so far, right? Without you really saying it. I mean, people feel that. So I love that. Now, last question for you, Karen. If you had to pick a superhero that relates best to you, who would that be, and tell us a couple of reasons why?
Oh, I wish I would have had a prep for this one, because knowing all the
this is one that gets everyone.
it's not my spiritual gift. Gosh, who would I pick? Okay, just off the top of my head, I would pick Elastigirl, because she just really, you can stretch her as far as she needs to go, and she always bounces back.
I love that. And I can see that in you 100%, right? I mean, you've been there and you've been stretched out, and here you are. So I love that. Karen, thank you so much for coming on the show and being an awesome guest. How can people get a hold of you, not only commercially, but residentially as well, if they need help or if they just want to connect with you?
Yeah, sure. Our DMC service, we answer our phone lines 24/7. So we're there in any emergency. And the phone number is 913-481-0505. Or you can find us on our website. You could submit, if you don't like talking on the phone, which nobody does anymore. We have a, contact us link on our website, and that's dmcserviceinc.com.
Perfect. So go check them out if you need servicing. So not new construction, right? They're not going to install anything in your home or your business, but anytime anything goes wrong with that stuff that's already there, give Karen and her team a call at DMC. Karen, again, thank you so much for coming on the show. You are absolutely awesome.
Thank you so much. I loved being here.
Hey, are we still live? Hey guys, we're still live. Hey guys, this is Kevin Kwok, founder of J29 Creative Group. So who are we? We're a marketing agency here in Kansas City. We're all about a holistic approach to marketing that builds your brand and nurtures online community. But to be honest with you, you guys don't care.